How to Be a Real Writer 1, Episode 1. One way to create addictive and immersive storytelling. Also, my comic book collecting 1, my favorite single issue comic book. So I'm going to start with one way to create addictive and immersive storytelling. Actually, there's a primer on structure elsewhere on my channel. But first, I want to give you a few tips I've learned over the years as a wannabe novelist and an indie comic writer and filmmaker on video and freelance game writer. I've also been working as a story coach, now game writing support on Fiverr. I also do web dev and remote video production, as well as a video game artist and a TTRPG writer and developer of experimental video for digital virtual performance art, which includes visual storytelling, a lot of which I tend to write by hand, or at least type, as a prose story before the script, before the storyboard, before the nonlinear design. So the outline. First, I want to talk about ideas versus craft. Then I want to talk about what is the work. And then I want to talk about rewrites. Then I want to talk about my process and why that's not me talking about your process. I want to talk about then emotional plot. And then I want to talk about what to do when it's not working, and then character development. So starting with ideas versus craft. Some people say with film, like Robert Saki said to me and the rest of the class in Dunedin, that all you need is a great idea, which is a fair point. It's a great start if you have a great idea. And for a story, you don't really need a great idea. Anyone can have a great idea. What you need is solid, sophisticated, potent, stable, and comprehensive implementation of a series or a simple or a complex idea. Solid, what do I mean? I mean, care about how you use language, how you form ideas and images, what words you use, and the structure of your sentences to match the medium to excel in storytelling. That's the goal. Sophisticated. I mean, it helps to be an educated writer and or of the subject of creative writing itself. Know the rules well enough to be able to ignore them and write with gravitas. Potent. Either a strength at being with your emotional self or background in poetry and or art practice is truly valuable for a storyteller. It's about the depth of an expression. Stable. I'm talking about pacing and flow. Look it up. Flow is about how well you write. Pacing is a tool you use to tell a story, but others can write about pacing and flow far better than I can. So just look it up. And B, at least at an entry point, meet the audience where they can get to it. Not necessarily where they are, but where they can get to it to bring them along for the ride. Even if you want to be the next David Lynch, Firth, Miike, or Shankaruth, or even like David Feiss. And finally, comprehensive. You really do need to pay attention to detail and think every aspect of your storytelling, while also having a strength for things like art direction, thinking Tim Burton and Bo Welch through excessively thoroughly if you want to be truly immersive. Okay, that's art, ideas versus craft. So what is the work? The work is how you tell the story. The story itself is most of what the craft of writing is about. What happens, that's the story. Most of the work in storytelling is about the story as is, i.e. what happens. But the most important part of storytelling, the real work, is how you tell the story. Voice, tension, tone, language, rhythm, format, structure, your soul, etc. This can be learned, but much of it is about an innate aptitude and down to who you are as a person. That was a quick chapter, but that was what is the work. So next I'm going to go into rewrites, and then we'll continue from there. So this section is rewrites. How do I approach rewrites? Okay, step 1, what I usually do is first work on my transitions. So I read through the draft and highlight boring words or missed transitions, and then list them to work through as a task list in one day. Then thoroughly solve each problem in the list one at a time in one writing session. Those are my first and most obvious rewrites. Step 2, this might be unique to me, or at least unique to transmedia storytellers, but I always start with a prose story. Often the second phase is a linear script, and the third phase is in design or format. During that process, I go through several drafts of rewrites for flow, language, story depth, what I really want to say, character, world, intimate, particular specificity in setting, tension, pacing, genre, themes, meaning, and expression. Always with an undercurrent of a kind of tug-of-war between poetry and intellect or invention. Step 3. Step 3 is about finally finishing a series of stories in the required format, packaging appropriately, and accompanied by relevant completed pitch material. This is just as important as is the section where you figure out how your writing will be received. That's it, done. But then as I work on 6 projects at a time, it does take about 6 to 18 months to finish. But I finish around 6 manuscripts in one go, so that's an exciting time when the lot is ready to put out there. Okay, so this next section is my process. So my process is not necessarily your process, but if I tell you mine, hopefully it will help you to figure out how to craft your own. You can take any useful bits of ideas about my process if you like to construct your own. Process is mostly about trying different approaches until you organically settle on a comfortable rhythm which you can repeat when you sit down to write and it feels familiar so you can write outside of the box. My process has 4 phases. Phase 1, idea. First, I turn the central idea around in my mind and discover what things I find interesting about it. Draw on these threads with characters who can most effectively wield the meaning I have in mind, or just random character ideas that would be fun to play with. Phase 2 is development. Then I riff on the setting and craft my story, the plot, the adventure, quest, or dramatic scenario. What happens in my story? Genre often comes in at this point, and format, and themes. Deep character from their reactions to the events driving the plot. Final phase, first draft. Riff on the setting again, using the characters to figure out what should happen within the prescribed events in the prescribed style while being open to thematic whim. Then conclusion and rewrites. Dialogue, deep character rewrites. What am I trying to say with my story? Transitions and redundancy. That's it. Next is emotional plot. Now this section is the last section in this video. I'm going to do another video with the rest of the points, but this section is on emotional plot. A good exercise for teasing out the emotional journey of your character could be to start by thinking about what you think they would be feeling moment to moment during the scenario. Then match that with those emotional or similar moments in your own life. Write little autobiographical stories about what was going on, how you reacted, behaved, thought, and physicalized to what you were feeling. That should give you a reference point for each emotional element in the scenes. Okay. So I'm finishing with a little bit on my comic book collecting. Comic book and graphic novels collecting. My all-time favorite single-issue comic is this one, Captain Atom, Volume 2 or Volume 3. It's Captain Atom, number 51 from 1991, the early 90s series of Captain Atom, issue 51. Now, this is the one I bought in would have been 95. So the cover is completely deteriorated. Cover's in really bad shape, but the first page is not in great shape, but all the other pages still holding together fine. It's only 30 years old, but that's my original copy from 95. This is the one I bought, so I'm going to open it. Yeah, it's near mint, worth $5. Ooh, that's shiny. Okay, well, there it is. Now, the story actually is not about Captain Atom. The story is about this guy called Pops, who might be more powerful than Captain Atom. It comes at a time in Captain Atom's main story where he is questioning what kind of hero he wants to be, what kind of person he wants to be. And he hears about the story of Pops, and it comes at a pivotal moment in his own journey. Now, the story of Pops is about this old man who accidentally killed a whole bunch of bullies when he was a kid. And so now he avoids all conflict, basically, and doesn't get involved in any situation where he would have the opportunity to save someone or something like that, because he knows what he's capable of. His kid is the kind of person who would get involved in stuff and gets kidnapped by a gang of hooligans, and he goes in and he saves his kid. It's a beautiful story. What I like most about it is that it's a tangent from the original storyline, the actual main storyline, Captain Atom, and Kelly Puckett does a really great job of writing this, and the art is understated, but, colorful and full of action and full of really interesting characterizations. So, oh dear. Oh well, I would say it's still in near mint condition. Okay, so those are the 2 versions. There's the one I just opened, which has a date on it, I think. Well, this one was published in 2013. This one was published in 1991. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. That's it for now. Please like if you liked the video and consider subscribing. I check up videos mostly on Thursdays.